All right. We need to talk about the MTG League weekends. The MPL and the Rivals weekend started this weekend, and like many people and many spectators, I was pretty excited for this weekend. I thought it was a really good step to move towards making spectators care about Magic as an esports. When Magic started really making the push into esports, the esports world, and they created the MPL, the biggest thing lacking at the start was that there was no interleague play. It made it really hard to care about the MPL. There was also no clear line to get into the MPL, which was then introduced into the Rivals League. There was no real reason for people to care about these players or the league at all, because the only times they were ever actually playing against each other was in Pro Tours, Mythic Championships, I guess. And that as a spectator, it wasn't interesting. It wasn't intriguing. There was no storylines. There was nothing really to care about too much there. And one thing I was saying for the longest time on our podcast, etc., was that I want to see interleague play. So you can create these storylines, create hype around the matches, and you want the qualifications for the MPL and the qualifications for the Rivals to be tied to how they're performing against each other. Obviously, performance in the Mythic Championships or the Pro Tours, the set championships now, those are ways for challengers to get into the MPL and the Rivals. But you want your performance, if you're in the MPL already, or if you're a rival, you want your performance against other players in those respective leagues to matter for if you get to stay in the leagues or not. It shouldn't be tied to a separate large tournament like the set championships where you're not going to be playing against each other for the majority of those matches. So it was really important for a framework to be created, like the league weekends, for this interleague play among the competitors in the Rivals League and the MPL, for the leagues to actually have relevance at all, to make spectators care, just to make it more competitive and just feel like an actual league. Now, we got it. WotC announced the MPL league weekends a few months ago, and they announced the MPL and Rivals gauntlets. So we essentially got a regular season with the MTG league weekends, and we got our gauntlets, which are our playoffs. So our end of year playoffs, which set up the Rivals and MPLs for the next season. It's all the top players, they get direct qualifications, and everyone else gets to battle off in the respective playoffs or gauntlets. And their performance there determines whether they stay in their leagues, they get to move up to MPL, they move down to Rivals, or if they get eliminated at all. And I think that's great. This is exactly what we needed. We needed a reason to care. We needed storylines to follow. We needed interleague play amongst the competitors to make it intriguing at all for spectators to want to watch. Now, this weekend, October 24th, 25th, was the first MTG League weekend, and I was very excited to start watching. And I've been watching as much coverage as I can across the weekend. And I've noticed some pretty big shortcomings, I think, within this structure and how it's being presented on the live stream, on the website, etc., that is making it really hard for me as a spectator to care about what's going on. And this is what I wanted. I wanted the regular season. I wanted the interleague play. And now I have it, but it doesn't feel like a real league still because of how it's being presented and how the data is being posted and the streams. So I'm going to go through a bunch of things that I think can be improved for the live streams, for the website, for the coverage of these events. And hopefully someone somewhere will take notice of our thoughts here. And if you've noticed anything that I don't go over today, leave it in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. You also tweet it at us. I'm really interested to see if any of our recommendations can actually be implemented, because I think there's so much potential here for these leagues to be awesome, for the coverage of these events to be awesome. And it's just falling short, and it needs to be better. This is a premier level Magic. This is the highest level, the MPL and the Rivals, highest level competitive Magic. And it needs to be better. It needs to be presented better. So I'm going to go through a bunch of points here of what I'm thinking, how I think we can improve this, and let me know what you think. All right, so let's kick things off here with the website for the league weekend. So it's Sunday right now. I wanted to check out the website to see if I could find results from the previous day on Saturday, day one, see where the standings were, etc. Just so I could follow along the players I care about and see how they're performing so far in the weekend. So I get here to the league, to magic.gg, Magic's website, right? And everything here looks good. I like that we have a league tab up top here. So we can see the league, we can go to the MPL, the Rivals. That's great. There's also, embedded Twitch stream here, so we can see the live coverage that's going on for the league. That's awesome as well. Link to the deck list for the league weekends. Perfect. I want to be able to find the decks that everyone is playing very easily, so I like that it's right here on the website. So I pop into the league tab here. You can see more of the live stream. Cool. I go down here, and then this is where things need to be better. So we have our tabs for all the weekends. Awesome. We're in the first one. I can go between Magic Rivals League, Magic Pro League. Cool. But this is the problem here. We have our matchups for the live stream for Sunday now. So I can see who's playing what every single day and what matches are going to be covered at which time. Cool. Why can't I see the results from the matches that have already happened? Why can't I see standings anywhere for the previous day or the matches are ongoing? I should be able to find up-to-date match results and up-to-date standings, but I can't. There's literally nowhere to find them. There's nowhere on this website. I scroll down here. Updated league standings will be posted the next business day following the league weekend. Are you serious? The next day? Why can't I find it now? Literally, the only way you can find the updated league weekend right now is this guy on Twitter at JPBall5 has created a Google Doc spreadsheet with up-to-date match results from every single round and standings. This is insane. This is the only way I can find up-to-date standings. I can't find them on the actual Magic official website. This has to change. There needs to, the technology exists. There needs to be updated standings and updated match results for every single pairing, especially our main features. The fact that I can't find the standings right here on the website is absolute insanity. There's just so much potential here, right? So I like that we have the players' names. I like that we have their listed archetypes beside the player names for the main features. If I go into the other pairings tab here, we have all the pairings for every single round. Why aren't the players' archetypes listed beside their names here? We had it for main features. It should be implemented in with this as well, right? Also, we have a tab up here for player streams. Can we implement this little widget into the pairings tab? So I can just, if I'm scrolling through the pairings and I can see, Martin Hughes is playing Shahar Shenhar, round 7. I could just click the tab right here to go check out one of their streams so I can catch their match. I think that would be a great little feature that I could do because we already have it over here. Let's implement it into pairings so we can get right into it, right? For the main overview, also implement that in so I can get right into, Reed Duke versus William Jensen. I can click live and go right into their match. But also, why can't I see who won this match? It happened at 9:20 a.m. Why can't I see it? It happened hours ago. We should have an updated result right beside it. And also, I should be able to click a little VOD button at the side so I can watch that match. If you go to the Magic Esports YouTube channel, there was no VODs, nothing posted from yesterday's entire feature matches. Do we not have the technology to update these VODs right after the match ends? Other esports do it. Why can't we do it? Let's take League of Legends esports website for an example. I realize that League of Legends is much bigger than Magic the Gathering in the esports world, but like this schedule, for an example, from the LCS this year is great. So I can see, Saturday, July 25th, all of the matches, what times they're happening, which we have. It's happening. It's right here. But for the matches that have already happened, I can see which team won. And if I click on it, it links me right to the VOD. So the technology is there. Why can't we have that here? I think that'd be fantastic. Oh, I missed Shota versus Ken's match early in the morning. Oh, look, I can just come over here and I can click the VOD. They also have their VODs channel, so you can see VODs from every single match across all of the leagues. We have one. I can't click it because there's no VODs. I realize that they're probably going to put them up the next business day, like the standings, but why can't I see them now? Why can't we update them now? Seriously. Now, another great thing about these standings is I can see the team's updated records once the match is finished. So their records are updated round by round. So for round 1, why can't I see who won this match? And why can't I see what the players' records are? This should all be tied into the standings as well. Like it still blows my mind that I can't find an updated standings for the league weekend while it's going on. I have to wait until the next business day to be able to see how the players performed, unless I want to go into this spreadsheet, which is made by another person, by someone on Twitter, not Watsy. That's crazy. So now, beyond the obvious stuff, I should be able to see the players' records beside their names. I should be able to click Demir Control, Teamer Ramp here, Demir Rogues here, and it should link me to their deck list. I think that's pretty easy to implement. Why can't I just click it to go to their deck list? I have to go into another tab and I have to scroll all the way down to find the player I want to check out their deck list. Another small quality of life thing, but I really think it's small little things like that which make just the whole user and spectator experience way better. Now, obviously, I've gone over this already, but I should be able to see the players' archetypes beside their names here, so I know which matchup's going on. I should be able to see who won this match after it happens. And let's implement the VOD feature for the main feature matches, just like League of Legends does. I should be able to click the match, and I should be able to go to the VOD. I think that would be fantastic. But seriously, like, my main point and takeaway from here is that the standings for the league weekend need to be accessible from this page, and they need to be updated every single round so spectators can follow the standings from round to round like any other esport or any actual sport. Standings are updated automatically so they can follow the players they care about, so we can see how the tournaments are going. I cannot hit this point enough that the only way I can find an up-to-date standings is this Google spreadsheet on Twitter. It's crazy. Waiting until the next business day for an updated league standings is just absolutely absurd for premier level. What is being marketed as the premier level Magic, MPL and Rivals. Now for the live stream, how long have players been asking for spectator mode? How is it possible that we still don't have spectator mode? We have had so many big digital Magic events. All of them, they're all digital now because of COVID. How is it that getting a spectator mode is still out of the question? So we have to deal with choppy gameplay, pixelated gameplay. Like, this should be a number one priority, and I don't understand why we don't have it yet. I realize things like this take time, but it's been a long time, and it's been being asked for forever. It would do so much for the quality of coverage for these events, and that is super important to be considered or taken seriously at all as a legitimate esport. Beyond this, for general gameplay coverage, this is the main screen. I like this. We have rounds, players' names updated for game 1, game 2, who's winning. Players' archetypes beside their names. That's great. Records above their names. Also fantastic. When we go into the matches, this is the screen I see. I get to see the main player's hand and I don't get to see the opening hand that the player up top is considering. We have a screen that'll already implemented for the live streams that allows us to see that. It's the sideboarding screen. And now for games 2 and 3, when we come out of sideboarding, we get to see the opening hands that the players are considering. But for game 1, we don't. Why don't we just start every match on this screen? It's literally every single match. It starts on this one. It should start here. We should, as spectators, be able to see the opening hands for the players every single game, not just for games 2 and 3. It's super easy to set up these scenes. It's already there. It exists. Let's just start here. Now, also, when it comes to the gameplay, they need to set it up so they can flip this bottom coverage screen with the top one in case the main one here is bad quality. For example, LSV versus Kaibude, last match of the day yesterday. This is the screen we had to look at for the entire match. LSV was the main coverage screen here for the entire match, but his quality was awful. So they shifted this top thing down, so now we're seeing Kai's screen, but we only got to see, and we had to look at the crappy quality of LSV's hand down here, and then Kai's hand right above it. Why can't we just flip it? Just flip this screen with this one, and then you don't have this awkward, disjointed coverage screen for not only commentators to try and watch, but all the spectators. Like, this looks awful. Just set up the scene so you can flip the screens. Just one replaces the other, and then you don't have to do this. Like, this setup is horrible for spectators. It's horrible. And this is just a real small thing that makes such a difference for quality of coverage. And it's crazy to me that it hasn't been fixed. And this is what we're left doing. Like, when we do coverage of our own events, I have the scene set up. So we have our main scene like this. And then if the main coverage screen is bad quality, I just click a button and it flips. And then you have the hand for the bad quality right up here at the top. But at least you can still see the cards in hand. And then the better quality player screen is right down at the bottom here. Real easy thing to fix to avoid situations like this. Now, also, for post-match, this is something they implemented during the grand finals coverage. They had Day 9 interview the winner after every match. We should still be doing this for the league weekends. You want to care about the main feature matches. We're posting the main feature matches before the event. Let's interview the winner so we can get a post-match analysis from the player that won. I think it matters a lot for the spectator, and they already started doing it for the grand finals. I think they should continue doing it for the league weekends. When it comes to pre-match, I think they should be setting up the live stream so we can get a mini interview with both players that are talking about their deck list, their preparation, their thoughts on the deck that they brought for the tournament before each main feature match. Now, I know the players have to submit their decks a few days before, so there's plenty of time to get these interviews in, and you can set it up for the main features. So if I know that my main features, for example, here are John Rolfe and Simon Gertzen, we have an interview with both the players that we play before their feature match, and the interviewer can go over the players' thoughts on the metagame. They can go over their top choices for decks going into the weekend. They can go over the deck that they eventually settled on and why they decided to choose that deck. And they can talk about their thoughts on good matchups and bad matchups. So I think it's really interesting as a spectator to learn about the player's thought process going into the event directly before we see them play for their main feature match. Now, and they have player interviews that are going on during the event. In between rounds, or just to fill air, which is the Bolt at Lands Leaving. This is an example of a screenshot where he's interviewing Raph Levy. I think the idea here is great, and I think we should do this before the pre-match interviews, but they need to ask better questions. So some of the questions that he was asking players in these interviews are, their favorite color in Magic, the worst deck that they've ever played in a tournament, dream vacation location, where they can find those players online, which is a good question. But we should be asking questions like, what are their thoughts on the metagame? What are their thoughts about their deck choice, good and bad matchups? Things spectators actually care about when it comes to the actual gameplay that they're watching this league weekend. I care a lot more about a player's thoughts on the metagame and their preparation that went into their deck choice for the league weekend that I'm watching than I care about what their favorite color in Magic is. And I imagine that the majority of spectators feel the same way if they're taking their time on the weekend to watch the league weekends. So let's ask questions that actually are interesting or engaging for spectators, and spectators want to know when we're setting up these interviews. And like I said, we'll set up these interviews for pre-match, so I get to see both players' interviews before we see them battle against each other on the stream. Another small thing that they can implement is this is one of the screens that they have playing during downtime in between rounds during the live stream. Now, these are the list of all the feature matches that are happening on Sunday, October 5th. So for the screen, for the matches that have already happened, let's update so we can see who won. Just put the results right on the names. You know, a W2-1, W2-0. So players who are watching these streams can see how what the results were of the matches for the main features that have already happened. I think it's a really easy thing to implement for whoever's running the streams. Instead of like, I don't know, the screen doesn't really add any value to me if I can't, like, of course I can see who's coming up next and who hasn't played yet, but I think it's pretty easy to implement just the records from the matches that already happened so we can see who won. All right, and that wraps up all of my thoughts on the first MPL and Rivals League weekends. Let me know in the comments what you thought about my suggestions. If you had anything else that bothered you or thought that could be improved on, I'd love to talk with anybody about this. If you want to get in touch with us, you can tweet at us at DWC Podcast 1. You can also tweet at me personally. My personal Twitter is at OHSTELLI. That's Ostelli on Twitter. I think there's just so much potential for these league weekends. And with how excited I was to, as a spectator, actually care about the MPL and Rivals, it's really fallen flat for me on this first weekend. And I would really like to see some of these changes implemented for the next league weekend, just to make it more interesting for spectators. The biggest thing that I mentioned is that up-to-date standings. Like, if anyone's going to take anything away from this weekend, there needs to be up-to-date standings every single round posted on Magic's website. Waiting till the next business day for updated standings is absolutely absurd. Having to go to some random person's Twitter page for their Google Doc to see what's going on with the league weekends for up-to-date information is just unacceptable. We can do so much better for coverage of these league weekends, and we can make them really exciting to watch and follow for spectators. And I'm just tired of these events falling flat and just not being interesting for spectators. And I'm just tired of being let down, to be honest. There's so much potential here, and we can do better. If you like what you see here and you want to see more content from the DWC, you can head over to our website, dwc.gg. We have links to our podcast, our YouTube channel here, our Twitch page, everything. You can find it all there on that one's website, as well as blog posts for deck guides that we're posting now. If you want to follow us on Twitter, at DWC Podcast 1 is the way to go. We do constant updates for all of our content there. Be sure to tune in every single Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, to twitch.tv/Disorganized Wizards Club for DWC Versus. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.